Hey, I think I'm live now. Coffee, truck, notes. Um, so on today's live stream, I labeled it "Don't Sign a Lease with Me If." Kind of a strange title. Don't sign a lease with me if. Here's what I mean by that. Um, let's say you find some potential tenants, folks that you think, okay, they don't look that crappy on paper. Okay, maybe I've had a text exchange with them, or maybe I've had a conversation with them, and I'm just trying to see if we should take those next steps. And by the way, when you're talking to somebody or texting somebody that is potentially a viable candidate, it's good. I think it's good to use, hey, let's continue this conversation and see if we should take those next steps. So you're kind of setting that expectation that, hey, this is kind of like an interview. And hey, I want to not only feel good about you as a potential tenant, I want you to feel good about me. And if at any point, um, your red flag goes up or their red flag goes up, then let's part ways. It is absurd and silly to sign a lease with somebody out of fear that you don't want the property to go unleased any longer. I've done that. That's stupid. Trust me. Um, so you don't want to let those pressures get to you and you sign a lease with the wrong person. You sign a lease with someone who isn't a good fit. Remember, I used that last time. We're looking for somebody who's a good fit. So, um, the phrase, don't sign a lease with me if, let me explain that. When I find someone who I think, when I tell myself, it, this may be the person, and I get a little excited because, hey, they seem to, I like them. I like their answers. I like the way they communicate. We seem to be on the same page. And let's say they feel the same way about you. They communicate to you via a phone conversation or via text that, they'd like to take those next steps. So everything is, coming along just fine at this point. At that time, I will reach out to a potentially perfect fit or a good fit and tell them, hey, um, let's have another conversation. And I will use that time to further vet them, not by looking at their credit report again and asking about why didn't you pay that debt, or that's stupid. Remember, I don't even use credit reports all that often, if never. Or asking them about, something in their a gap in their job history or something like that. Um, I want to use that conversation time to say, hey, please don't sign a lease with me if you can't make rent a priority. I like to have those words come out of my mouth. I will say it more than once to a potential tenant, and I'll say it again. It's good to have these little phrases memorized, like, please don't sign a lease with me. Don't become my tenant. Don't rent from me if you can't make rent a priority. And then I shut up and I listen for their response. And then I weigh that response and I think that was a really intelligent answer that they gave me about, oh, James, we always pay rent That's so important. We need a roof over our heads. It trumps just about every other bill we get. So I listen to that answer. If I don't hear something like that, I pause because I think, okay, um, maybe that eviction that they had that I found out about, that I inquired about, um, didn't resonate with them, didn't make them um, reevaluate the priority of rent. Um, so it allows me to question, is this the right tenant? I will tell people, listen, um, I'm so grateful that you have a job and sounds like you enjoy what you're doing. Uh, but please understand, life is crazy expensive. We all would attest to that. We all, no matter how good you are at budgeting, there are always surprises that can come up where you're having to spend money on something that you don't want to spend money on, but it was unforeseen. Um, and now you've got to part with dollars, with income that you hadn't planned for. That happens every day of every, you know, so few of us have just so much money that it's not even a thought. I don't have a money tree that I can continue to um, water in my backyard. I can't plant new water trees. So I will share all this with the tenant and get them to hopefully laugh and say, "Yes, James, we totally agree. Life is expensive. Having a family is expensive. Everything's crazy, high, and you really have to be a good steward with your money these days." I want to hear that come out of somebody's mouth. Um, and I will tell people, listen, let me give you an example. Um, it sucks when your car that we rely on, has trouble. Car trouble does stink. It usually happens at the worst possible time. And getting your car worked on is expensive, right? Right. And so if, just as an example, if you have a $600 um, car repair that you weren't planning for, that happens. That's reality. Or $1,000 repair. If you don't have rainy day money set aside, or a way to handle that extra expenditure that you hadn't planned for, uh, don't become my tenant. Because all of a sudden, because when that happened, it's not if, that will happen, or some medical expense or some other emergency. Um, if those unplanned for expenses derail you, if they're going to derail you, and to the point where rent can't be a priority, please pass on my house. I'm glad that you like it. I'm glad that you like me, but it doesn't sound like this is a good fit for you. I need rent to be a priority, and I need somebody to be able to handle those expense road blocks, hurdles, bumps, whatever you want to call them, because they will occur. So that gets somebody thinking about, okay, seems like rent's really important to this guy. And maybe we do need to rethink about his property. I do not want to convey, hey, you run into a crisis financially, you reach out to me, and because I'm a compassionate guy, if rent isn't a priority anymore and I'm way down the pecking order, that's okay. I have made that um, fatal mistake before. Because I'm a nice guy, I realized that I kinda conveyed that, "Hey, open communication is what's important." So and it is. Um, and if you get between a rock and a hard place, reach out to me. Well, I want them to reach out to me, but I think I took it too far with my words, and I seem to have conveyed and, you know, I probably did it in a lackluster way. I conveyed, "You know what? Pay those other bills first. You pay me when you can, or you pay me what you can, and that'll be okay." Because I'm a property owner, an investor, a landlord, and I can, I can weather those occurrences. Why did I convey that? That is idiotic. I need rent to be a priority. And so huge learning opportunity for myself. So I play devil's advocate and say, "Hey, this could be going somewhere good, and I'm glad you're excited about the house and me and everything. But please don't become my tenant if you can't make rent a priority." And then I'll talk about what that means. Okay. Looking at my notes here. Um, oh, yeah. So this kind of reiterates what I've just been talking about for the past 11 and a half minutes. Are there any financial surprises that are going to derail you? That's a good question to ask. So, yes, if somebody has a catastrophic event in their life, an expensive one, that can derail just about everybody, including me. But if little things, and these need to be little things like putting new tires on your vehicle, um, are going to make it difficult for a tenant to pay rent timely and in full. Don't sign a lease with that person because tires wear out and buying new tires can be expensive. So, and I've had tenants say, "Hey, James, my wife's car needed, you know, new brakes." And I have to then realize what a fool I am. This person who has two cars, two-car family or three-car family, if they have kiddos that are driving age or whatever. And yes, brakes wear out. And yes, getting your brakes replaced ever so often is happens. And you're telling me that that is an unplanned for expense. And now that you have to replace the brakes on your wife's car, you can't pay me the rent. Not a good fit. There's somebody who might be a decent person, who might work hard, who might be an excellent employee, uh, and they might even make decent income, you know. But for whatever reason, um, having to get a brake job or replace tires throws their budget into a tailspin, and rent gets put on the back burner. So don't rent to somebody like that. Trust me, I've made that mistake more than once. I would prefer that the house sit empty. And sure, if the house is sitting empty, that's not a good thing. Without a tenant, you're not getting any kind of rent income. You are making that loan payment without anything to offset it. But rushing and signing a lease with the wrong person is a far greater mistake in my book, for sure. And I'll just say this: I take zero pleasure in playing hardball and telling a tenant that can't make rent a priority that you've got to leave my property, that you and your family have to pack up and leave. Why would that? Why would I enjoy that? That sounds sadistic. And I don't want to have that conversation with you. That's what I'll tell the person on the line. I don't want to have that conversation. So if rent can be a priority, and if you've got some emergency money, rainy day money, great. And then I'll let them try to convince me that they do. If I don't hear a convincing answer, I'm going to say, hey, let me follow up with you guys in a day or so. And it might be to say, listen, wish you guys the best of luck in your search. I don't think you're a good fit. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your application. And wish you well. And let me know if somehow I can be a resource for you. But basically convey very clearly, I can't proceed with you guys. I'm going to have to, seek out other potentially qualified applicants and tenants. All right. I'll end by saying this. I want the house to be a blessing for someone. I say that. I say that because I truly do want it to be a blessing for someone. And I don't want it to be a nightmare for said tenant, said family members. I don't want it to be a nightmare for said landlord, said property or owner. So you really are looking for that good fit. And playing devil's advocate and having those conversations about, hey, don't rent from me if, I think those are good questions. If you can't make rent a priority, if a emergency expense is going to derail you, have those conversations. Listen intently to the feedback that you're getting. Then okay, I've done some due diligence here by having these very frank, very open, very candid, very transparent conversations. And my gut is saying, I've got a keeper. I've got somebody I can proceed with. And hopefully when they hang up the phone, they're saying the same thing about you. I've had, I'll end by saying this. I've had instances where I wanted to proceed with somebody, but they didn't necessarily wanted to proceed with me. They wanted to keep their options open. They didn't return phone calls or text messages and all that. I didn't let that hurt my feelings. Well, I thought you thought I was great. Didn't you hear how great of a landlord I am? Actually, that's good. You know what? It's a relationship between two parties, and you want both parties to be on board. And so a potentially good fit passing on me, boy, that's good. That's good. That's better than me forcing them, you're going to rent my house, and convincing them this is the place for you guys. Trust me. I'm going to try to impress you as a landlord and be responsive and all that. No, it's okay if they part with you and you go back to the drawing board. Get yourself some coffee, enjoy your day, and we'll do it again. Peace.